It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Jen Cohen as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it's great to have you in studio today. We're sitting down with Ken Zoll, the Verde Valley Archaeology Center Executive Director. Some information for you, and I'll repeat this throughout the show, too. The website is vvarccenter.org. Phone number is 567-0066, typical 928 area code. They're open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 4, closed Sunday and Monday. Did I get all that right, Ken?
That is correct.
Welcome back. It's been about a year.
Thank you. Yeah,
this is the Arizona Archaeology and Heritage Awareness Month. I've got it written down. March is Arizona Archaeology and Heritage Awareness Month. That's what I'm trying to spit out. It is a lot to try to say. But we had you here, I want to say it was about a year ago.
Just about. Yeah.
And because it's March, and that seems appropriate time to have you come in and talk about the Verde Valley Archaeology Center. So give us an update. What's taken place in the last 365 days in your world?
Well, it's been very, very busy and very, very good. Our membership keeps growing. We're well over 1,000 members now, which is very good for support. The museum itself, we've moved the exhibits around. In the Paul Dyke exhibit, we have a textile area that I have to remove the textiles every 5 months. They're so fragile. And so I rotate those. So we have a new set of textiles on display. Textiles are pieces of cloth, essentially.
Okay.
Anything woven, cotton, yucca, whatever, and multicolors. In fact, Monday we had a fiber art club from Mesa come in, and they were like little kids looking at this stuff. We actually took them in the back room in a repository. We have about 1,000 pieces back there. So they were going goggly-eyed there with their magnifying glasses and everything. So we rotated that out. The newest exhibit is the Paul Dyke art exhibit. The family had given us 3 of his paintings, original paintings, and we've had one on display, and we decided it was time to bring the other 2 out. And so we asked the family if they could give us some additional paintings, and they gave us 1 watercolor and 2 additional oils. And so we have 6 of his original oils and 1 watercolor on display, and that'll be there through the month of March. And then we'll be swapping that out for another display come April.
What makes this artist so special?
Well, Paul Dyke is a descendant of the famous Van Dyke, Sir Anthony Van Dyke, from the 1600s. And so when he was 11, they sent him off to Germany to learn painting, and he learned painting in 1935 through 1940, somewhere in there, in Florence, Prague, Germany, enrolled in the Munich Academy of Art, and so he was a very accomplished artist, but he primarily painted Plains Indians because he grew up among the Blackfoot, the Sioux, the Cree. The Sioux actually gave him a name, an Indian name that translates to rainbow hand, and so he was very famous. He did 61-man shows all over the country. His work is in the Phoenix Art Museum, Tucson Art Museum, Museum of Northern Arizona, a number of other museums around the country. And but on his property, he had this very large cave dwelling, and he was doing an art exhibit in 1968 at LA County Museum, and it turns out the curator was also an archaeologist. So he told him about this cave on his property, and he came out, looked at it, and for the next 10 years he brought out graduate students for summer field schools excavating in the caves.
Oh, wow.
And they pulled out over 25,000 artifacts.
Oh, that's amazing.
And for some reason, we're not absolutely sure that whoever was living there at the time, somewhere around 1275, they just took off, just ran away.
Similar to what happened here. Just took off.
Just took off.
Disappeared.
Disappeared.
Uh-huh.
And what we think happened is that there's stories among the Apache elders that the Apache wanted to take over parts of Beaver Creek. And the archaeologist at the Montezuma Castle believes that they attacked Montezuma Castle and burned down Castle A. They found charred bodies when the settlers first came here. And they've done some additional research, so they're pretty sure that the reason Montezuma Castle was abandoned was that the Apache attacked them. And so probably the people from the castle went up Beaver Creek. The next area was Montezuma Well, and then that got abandoned. And then the very next to the Montezuma Well is the Dyke Ranch dwelling. And so they probably just kept running up Beaver Creek saying, you know, the Apaches are coming, and they ran out and left all this material there. So with the dike collection, the family gave it to us, and we now have the largest textile collection, fiber art collection ever found in the Verde Valley. We have Hopi and Zuni weavers coming down regularly to study the material. We have the preeminent expert, PhD in Southwest textiles. She's been out about every 6 months to do studies. We have the largest farming collection ever found, and the University of Arizona has done studies on our Amaranth Seeds, and they are about to publish a paper to say that it's the first domesticated amaranth ever found in the American Southwest.
What's an amaranth seed?
Amaranth is kind of a grain, sometimes wild grain, but you can cultivate it, and you can eat it raw. You can grind it into flour.
Okay, so sort of a wheat, or
right.
Okay, okay.
So actually, in the collection, there was a textile pouch, and when we opened it up, here was a whole pile of amaranth seeds in it.
Oh my gosh!
And so they did a study on that, and they have since taken our some of our cotton seeds, and they've taken some corn kernels, and they're doing DNA analysis, et cetera, on that as well. So it's a wealth of information, and the collection has the largest bows and arrow collection ever found in the American Southwest. We had a student from Northern Arizona University do his master thesis on our bows. His paper was on bow construction and prehistoric bows, and he found 2 bows in our collection that were still in the production stage. They weren't finished yet, and he said that totally changed his conclusion. And so he defended his master thesis last May and got his master's partially based on our bows. So this collection is on display. We're getting a lot of publicity about it among the archaeological community because of the research potential in it. So that's very interesting. So we just keep moving things around, changing things, and keeping things interesting.
That's quite a 1 year, and that's just the tip of the iceberg for you, isn't it?
Well, right, because the biggest job this past year has been our property.
Yeah.
I think last time we were here, we had, I mentioned that we had been donated, mostly donated 15 acres of land in Camp Verde. It's the site of a prehistoric pit house village.
Yes.
Right. And we have since found additional pit houses. Originally, they thought there was 6 to 8. We found additional 2, so we're up to 8 to 10.
Oh my gosh.
And then we had to put the water line in down the road, so we had to monitor it because it's so close to the archaeological site. And sure enough, the water line went through 2 additional pit houses.
Oh, so maybe 12.
At least 12, right. And so this is a major village, and so we, working with the Yavapai, Apache, and the Hopi, we said, well, we'd like to preserve this and not excavate like crazy. And so we're going to set that area aside as a Native American Heritage Preserve. And we've been developing a trail through it over this past year. We had a grant from the National Park Service, and they came out with their landscape architects and helped us design the trail route. They helped us design some signage and gave us leads on benches. And so we've had the members donate money to fund 10 benches along the way and 9 interpretive signs along the way. And the interpretive signs, cross my fingers, will be delivered today and we'll install it in the next day or 2. And the gravel, it's almost a half-a-mile trail. The gravel for the trail was donated by the Yavapai Apache Nation, about $5,000 worth of gravel. And the parking lot is about to be done. The millings, which is when the highway department grinds up the old asphalt, the millings are given to towns, and the town of Camp Verde has given us millings to finish our parking area. And so hopefully that'll get done this week. And so the plan is to open up the trail this weekend as a soft opening, because we still have some work to do. Assuming it doesn't rain, and anybody can come out there and look at the trail. It's right on Homestead Parkway, right off of the interstate on Highway 260. And next July, when they pave the road, we'll have the grand opening, and then the park will be open on a regular basis for people on weekends.
Holy cow. That's Ken for the first half of the show. We got to take a break. Again, vvarccenter.org, numbers 567-0066. It's open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 4. This is Verde Valley Archaeology Center Executive Director Ken Zoll. Stick around, countywide, back in just a couple minutes.
It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Being prepared is a part of who you are, but it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you'll go in an emergency. Build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
Welcome back to Countywide. Sitting down with Ken Zoll from Verde Valley Archaeology Center. Where's it located in Camp Verde?
We are 385 South Main Street, right across from the Verde Cafe and Moscato's Italian Restaurant, and just as you turn to go into Fort Verde State Park.
Okay, so right there. Well, that's a good place for it.
Yep.
Perfect spot, perfect spot. They're open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 4. And you heard Ken, the first part of the show, talk about everything that's in there. It's amazing what's in there.
Yep.
And you're just, and the idea, let's take people back in time. If I remember right, the idea that you had was we need a museum locally so that our stuff stops leaving and going all over the country.
That's
there's
right.
a place locally to hold it.
Right. There's been an archaeological society chapter in the area for 30 years or so. And we had a speaker back in 2009. It was a contract archaeologist, and he had talked about that they had just excavated a site, which is actually the Gray Hills, Gray Fox housing development here in Cottonwood. And they found a pit house village of about 30 structures and pulled out like 25,000 artifacts. And so he was telling us about it. And so, of course, one of the questions was, where is the material? When can we see it? And he said, well, it's all going to Charlotte Hall Museum, and you'll never see it because it's not their service area, but it has to be stored. And so they'll put it in the basement, and unless you're a researcher, you'll never see it. And so we got kind of upset with that idea and investigated what we'd need to do to stop that. And basically, you had to start a museum, you got to get a repository, and you have to be certified by the state to receive collections from federal, state, and private lands.
A huge endeavor.
And everybody kept saying, don't do it, because it's expensive. You'll never do it with volunteers. So we decided, well, give it a try. We did it. We got certified. We're now the only repository in the Verde Valley. So when things are excavated now,
never say never.
They're supposed to tell us.
Right?
They're supposed to give it to us first, offer it to us first. So that's why we're running out of space already. So when we were donated the property, we now have on our website the new buildings that we plan to build, and we'll be starting very heavily now in a big fundraising effort to build a new museum, repository, classrooms, etc. So.
All that's still to come.
That's still to come.
That's amazing. So these pit houses that you have on the property,
yes.
When will we start looking into those? And now some of them won't be touched. You already mentioned that, but some of them, obviously, you will be doing some excavating.
Well, there's only two that are in this space where we would be building our buildings. So those would have to be excavated at some time, probably not for a couple years. Where there was one pit house that was excavated on the property because when they were doing the investigations, they actually brought up human remains. And so they had to stop with the backhoe and they had to hand excavate it. And so that was done properly with the native tribes being consulted. They were reburied appropriately, and then that pit house was covered over. So the first stop on our trail now is that pit house that was excavated, and there's a picture of what it looked like. We're now working with a couple of recent NAU graduates in archaeology, and they're going to put a proposal together to actually reconstruct that pit house.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is that something we could see in the future where you'd actually see one that...
Hopefully within 2 years, we'll actually have that pit house reconstructed. Since we have good detail from that excavation, the size of it and what was in it, we're going to try to reconstruct it. So when you walk along the trail, in addition to just seeing a sign, you'll actually be able to walk into one of them to see what it would look like when they were here.
Just paint a picture for me of what a pit house would look like.
Different archaeologists call it different things. Some call it a house in a pit, and some call it a pit house. Okay. But basically, they would dig a hole maybe 3 feet deep in the ground, sometimes line it with rock, sometimes not. Sometimes they would plaster it. And then the balance of it, the next 3 to 4 feet, would have been organic material for the roofing. Sometimes they'd then cover it over with hides. Sometimes they would cover it over with mud. Depends on whether it was a more permanent settlement or just a passing through kind of settlement. And so that was the most prevalent type of dwelling here from around 600 AD until about 1000 AD. And so they're scattered all over the Verde Valley.
Pretty small?
They're generally on average about 10 foot by 8 foot rectangular generally. Sometimes they were circular.
Not too small, but...
Not too small. You'd probably be able to fit comfortably 3 to 4 people in it. They were generally used for inclement weather, not to be living in it constantly.
Sure.
But yeah, so they're everywhere, and it's probably several thousands all over. And all you really see today when you're walking around is very like shallow depressions in the ground. And sometimes when we're looking for them, there might be a tree growing right in the middle of it, because you basically have this little bowl, and the water would settle into this bowl, and it would be great to root a plant.
Sure.
And so a lot of times you find trees in the center of these pit houses.
Wow. There's all kinds of questions I had for you, but every time you come in here, I just get kind of lost in what you're talking about. Okay, so we've talked about the artwork. We talked about the fact that the soft opening is coming up this weekend, March 17th and 18th.
Yes.
And we've got that taken care of. You also, on your website, I noticed, and the website again is vbarcenter.org. There's field seminars, which I think someone like myself would be interested in doing. So talk a little bit about field seminars. I'll give you 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, we had, again, fortunately, we had a van donated to us, a 12-passenger van, and we are now the official nonprofit partner of Montezuma Castle and Tuzagut National Monuments. And so we have trained a number of guides, and we're going to be offering guided tours on the vans, where we call them field seminars, because rather than just walking around talking about individual things, we'll talk about the people, the culture, the architecture, the agriculture. As we walk through on fields, we'll talk about pottery that we see and what it was like. So it's really a seminar in the field. And so right now we're offering an all-monument tour, so we can go to the castle, to the well, and to Tuzagut, all in about a 4 to 5 hour period. We have another one where we'll go to Tuzagut, but then we also take you to a ruin owned by the Archaeological Conservancy that's fenced off, and we're the only ones that have the key to that, so it's a unique area. We are waiting for a commercial permit from the county, and that hopefully we'll have in April. So we will start to do another tour that just goes to 2 private archaeological preserves, and one of which is has the tallest, it's about a 12-foot standing Pueblo wall. It's the tallest freestanding Pueblo wall in the entire Verde Valley. And so we'll be going to those 2 sites. So those are available now, other than the one we're waiting on the permit. But yeah, we can take groups of up to 12 to these.
All right, let's take another break. Phone number is 567-0066. Website is vbarcenter.org. Stick around, countywide, back in just a couple minutes.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
what to expect when you're expecting.
Like here?
A teenager.
Today, I'm going to show you how to teen-proof your home. First step, hide the car keys. Preferably somewhere they would never look. Challenges will come up. Be ready for them. Hi, honey.
Ready for the... Mom, you don't use mannequins in the mannequin challenge.
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Smokey. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Countywide. Just a few minutes left of the program. The Pecan and Wine Festival is going on in Camp Verde. Of course, the Verde Valley Archaeology Center is kind of piggybacked on that with the Arizona Archaeology and Heritage Awareness Month. So it's a good combination. Lots to do out there.
It is, yes. Camp Verde's been doing the Pecan and Wine Festival for a number of years, and then we came along and decided to do an archaeology fair, and we did that for a couple of years, and then the town got together and said, well, why don't we just put it all together in one big event?
Good idea.
So that's why it's now Heritage Pecan and Wine Festival. And so we do our event in the community center gym, so we'll have a number of booths on archaeology and exhibits, displays, demonstrations. There's about 30 Native American artists that'll be there showing their art. And then in an adjoining room, we do a series of lectures and films. They're all free archaeology lectures and films that will be running throughout the weekend.
Okay.
So.
And there's a list of that on your website?
Yes, we have our lectures and our films, who's doing it, a little bit of description about them on the website under the Archaeology Fair webpage.
Okay, and that's at vvarchcenter.org, vvarchcenter.org. Okay, and then we want to make sure we let folks know the museum is open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 4 every day, so that's plenty of time to go see that. A lot of museums aren't even open that much, so
that's right.
That's pretty nice. Volunteers, do you have enough volunteers?
We can always use docent volunteers to be there when visitors come in, so we provide a manual and some training, and you basically just sit there and greet people as they come in and maybe show them around, answer a few questions. So always have a need for that.
Donations. Let's talk donations. You need to raise a substantial amount of money in order to build this museum.
Right. The entire complex, we're estimating both interior, exterior, is about $8 million. And so we're going to be building it in phases as we get money, and there's naming rights if somebody wants to put their name on a building or whatever. We just hired actually a grant researcher writer, and she's currently researching potential grants. The issue with building funds is there's a lot of grants out there, but they all want to be the last dollar in. So if you raise if it's a $2 million building and you raise the first $1 million, they'll give you the second $1 million. So the biggest hassle is trying to get that first $1 million or $2 million per building to do. So we're going to be starting our campaign heavily in the fall. Right now, donations are always accepted. You know, we've been getting donations right along, but the big push will come in the fall. We'll have a big event in the fall, and actually several events as we try to raise the money to build the buildings.
Okay, all right. So yeah, it's a huge endeavor. There's still a lot of work to be done.
Yes.
But I like to hear the fact that you've got the path getting ready to start this weekend, which is really good news.
That's right. The path, people can come to the property, see what's there.
Sure.
There'll be signs that'll say site of future museum, site of future repository, site of future educational center, and so they can get a visualization just where all these things are going to be. We've been getting so much material that we actually had to buy a storage container, which we put on our property, and so some of the artifacts and other types of items that we can store in a non-environmentally sensitive area are going to be moved into there over the summer months. So we're growing faster than we can handle it with the building that we currently have.
All right, so if you can help, give Ken a call. The number again is 567-0066. Always good to see you.
It's a pleasure.
Always good to listen to what you have to say. It's always very, very fun. vvarchcenter.org again is the website. Verde Valley Archaeology Center Executive Director Ken Zoll. That's today's Countywide. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.